Cleveland Browns are building something different. Let me tell you something, what you've just witnessed on that practice field. That is a problem. And I mean that in the best possible way. This is a first-round pick who is out there on day two of rookie minicamp, moving around like he's been suiting up in the NFL for 3 solid years. And Concepcion, he's out there making the whole thing look like it's moving in slow motion for him. Like practice isn't fast enough to challenge him. Welcome to Dre Reports. I'm Dre Fiver. And today we're putting together the full argument that the Cleveland Browns just handed Shedeur Sanders exactly the tools he's been crying out for, and the rest of the AFC North. They're going to regret it. Buckle up. We're going all the way in on this one, because there's something stirring in Cleveland that the national media is still sleeping on. The Browns just wrapped up what's several top draft. Analysts are flat out calling one of the most impressive draft hauls in the entire league. 4 selections inside the top 60. 2 first-round wide receivers, a first-round offensive tackle, a ball-hawking safety in the second round. And smack in the middle of all of it sits pick number 24, a wide receiver out of Texas A&M by the name of Concepcion. This young man walked through the doors of the Cleveland facility, threw on a jersey, and immediately started making defensive backs look absolutely lost at rookie minicamp. From minute 1, he had something to prove and wasn't shy about letting everyone know it. So let's break it all the way down. Who Concepcion really is, what he brings to this offense, and why pairing him with Shedeur Sanders, a brand new offensive line, and a coaching staff that actually knows how to coach is going to make the Cleveland Browns a squad that nobody in this league wants any part of in 2026. Who is this kid though? Let me introduce you properly, because I think a lot of people outside of hardcore college football circles are just now getting their first real glimpse of him. Concepcion kicked off his college journey at North Carolina State, and he didn't tiptoe in. As a freshman, according to official college records, he hauled in 71 catches for 839 yards and 10 touchdowns. Freshman year, All-American ACC Rookie of the Year on his very first attempt. That's not a project you develop over time. That's a weapon the moment he steps off the bus. He then packed his bags and headed to Texas A&M for his final college season in 2025 and did it all over again. According to official Cleveland Browns team reporting, in his one and only season with the Aggies, he racked up 61 receptions for 919 yards and 9 touchdowns, while also chipping in 10 carries for 75 yards on the ground. And he did all of that in a brand new system in the SC, going up against some of the nastiest defenses college football has to offer. That's not lucky. That's legitimacy. The scouts picked up on it too. According to Dogs by Nature's draft breakdown, evaluators labeled Concepcion arguably the best separator in the entire 2026 draft class. They pointed to his acceleration burst off the line as among the very best in the class. They highlighted how dangerous he is working out of the slot, where his quickness creates nightmarish mismatches against linebackers who simply have no answer for him. He fires off the line to threaten deep, then evaporates into the short to intermediate areas where the ball is already on its way. That's the kind of route runner Shedeur Sanders has been waiting for his entire professional life. The pressure valve. The guy who gets open on 3rd and 5 like it's nothing. The guy who can manufacture yards after the catch when the pocket is collapsing and the quarterback needs somebody to bail him out right now. And here's Dre Fiver's personal take on it. The Browns didn't draft Concepcion just to fill a roster spot or add another name to the depth chart. They drafted him to completely reshape what Shedeur Sanders can do inside Todd Monkin's offense. Because the sharpest offensive minds in this league, and Todd Monkin absolutely belongs in that conversation, they build their systems around the weapons sitting in front of them. And now, Shedeur has a weapon who can hurt you from anywhere on the field, at any speed, at any moment. Try scheming for that. I dare you, more than a football player now. I want to pump the brakes on the football talk for just a moment. Because there's a layer to Concepcion's story that goes way beyond root trees and separation numbers, and it matters a great deal to everything happening in Cleveland right now, according to the Browns' own reporting. Just 1 week before the 2026 draft, Concepcion published an open letter to all 32 NFL teams through the Players' Tribune. In that letter, he spoke honestly and openly about his speech impediment. He talked about the roadblocks he's faced throughout his life, about growing through adversity, and about what he genuinely believes he can become as a professional. No hiding, no performance. No fake tough guy act. Just the raw, real truth about who he is as a person. That's the exact same energy that Shedeur Sanders has carried into Cleveland since day one. Two young men who had every single reason to walk around with a chip on their shoulder and a grudge in their heart. Two men who instead chose to show up, do the work, and let what happens on the field do all the talking. That kind of character isn't an accident. It attracts its own kind. Concepcion also founded the Concepcion Foundation back during his time at NC State, running school supply drives, toy drives, and community outreach programs across Charlotte and Raleigh. Go ahead and tell me that's not exactly the kind of human being you want in your locker room. Tell me that's not precisely the energy a young franchise needs when it's trying to build something that lasts. And Dre Fiver will say this straight out. The relationship between Concepcion and Shedeur was already well documented before draft night. The texting during Shedeur's top 30 visit. The instant connection. The ready to get to work message. That's not a coincidence. That's two people who see something familiar in each other. Two guys who know what it feels like to be written off, and who refuse to let it be the end of the story. That kind of locker room chemistry isn't manufactured in a film session. It lives somewhere deeper than that. The full picture in Cleveland. Now let's zoom out. Because Concepcion isn't rolling into Cleveland by himself. He's arriving in the middle of a full-blown transformation, one that started the moment Kevin Stefanski was shown the door and Todd Monkin walked through it. Look at what this offense is packing. Heading into training camp, Concepcion at pick 24, the top separator in the draft, an instant slot weapon, a quick twitch nightmare for nickel corners everywhere. Denzel Boston at pick 39, and let me tell you about Denzel Boston, because he deserves his own spotlight. According to official Cleveland Browns and Washington Huskies reporting, the man stands 6 feet 4 inches and tips the scales at 212 pounds. Over 4 seasons in Washington, he piled up 1,781 receiving yards, averaged 13.5 yards per catch, and found the end zone 20 times to 14 of those touchdowns coming inside the red zone. He doesn't need to be the fastest guy on the field. He wins jump balls. He dominates in tight windows. He is a contested catch machine, and every time Shedeur needs a 50-50th ball, Boston is right there waiting to go get it. Then add Jerry Jeudy, who was a genuinely productive NFL receiver when things were clicking around him. Cedric Tillman, coming back healthy and hungry. Isaiah Bond, who barely got a real training camp last year and still flashed enough ability to make everyone sit up straight. Imagine what a full offseason does for him. Nick Font at tight end, one of the most productive players at his position in the entire league last season. And anchoring the whole thing up front, Spencer Fono, the first-round offensive tackle at pick 9, who is going to be the cornerstone of a completely rebuilt offensive line. Every single lineman from last year's disaster is gone. Every one of them. Let me be clear about why that last part matters so much. When that offensive line disintegrated in 2025 and Shedeur was eating hits before he could even process his reads, every ugly play got put on his shoulders. His footwork, his decisions, his temperament. But here's the football truth that gets overlooked every single time. When a quarterback gets even half a second more in the pocket, just half a second, the entire evaluation changes. Everything looks different. With Fono and a rebuilt wall in front of him and 2 first-round targets running routes behind him, we are finally about to discover who Shedeur Sanders actually is when someone puts a real offense around him. Day 2 said everything. Let me come back to that practice footage because this is where it gets very tangible. What immediately jumped off the screen, and the beat writers noticed it too, with multiple reporters calling out Concepcion by name after practice wrapped up, were the hands. The quickness and the absolute precision with which he gets in and out of his breaks. Watching him run routes in real time, there is no warm-up period. No gradual build-up to full speed. It's full throttle on the very first step. Full speed at the catch point. He lays out. He goes over the middle and does not even flinch. Yes, he had a drop that made its rounds on social media. And I'm going to do what Dre Reports always does and just be straight about it. Drops happen. They happen in rookie camp especially. When you're running full-speed routes for the first time with new teammates, a new system, with a quarterback whose timing you're still learning. Will the hands need to be dependable? No question. Draft analysts coming out of both NC State and Texas A&M flagged that as the one area that needs refinement. But anyone who watched Concepcion play college football for 3 years knows. This isn't someone who backs down from difficult catches. He's the guy who puts himself in those spots because he's not scared to fail. That mentality is exactly what Cleveland needs. It's exactly what Shedeur Sanders has been preaching since the moment he arrived. Last year versus. Right now, compare this roster to what the Browns were working with last year, and the gap is enormous. Last year's wide receiver room was limping through the offseason before training camp even started. Bond was handed real game snaps without a proper camp. Tillman was dinged up. Nobody could get consistently open, and every time Shedeur had to hold the ball an extra fraction of a second trying to find somebody, anybody, breaking free. The entire internet declared it was his fault for taking sacks. Now, he's got a first-round separator who creates space at will on every single snap. He's got a second-round physical freak at wide receiver who is going to win every 50-50th ball thrown his direction in the red zone. That is an entirely different conversation. That is a completely, fundamentally different conversation. Todd Monkin changes everything, and I need to make sure we talk about the coaching piece, because it's massively underrated in the national conversation around this team. Todd Monkin is not Kevin Stefanski. I'm not saying that to bury somebody who's already gone. I'm saying it to provide context. Because the practice footage from day 2 of rookie minicamp shows something that was genuinely absent last year. This coaching staff is physically moving between reps. They're in the middle of drills. They're fixing footwork in real time. They're coaching while it's happening, not just watching and making notes for a meeting later. That's a different standard. That's a different culture, and it flows straight from the top. This is the same Todd Monkin who took Lamar Jackson, a quarterback the league had already recognized as elite, and turned him into a back-to-back. MVP, made him the most efficient passer in football. Made him the one player that opposing defensive coordinators literally lose sleep scheming against. That's what this man does when talented players trust what he's building now. Think about what Shedeur Sanders can do in that kind of environment. He can throw with touch. He can throw with anticipation. He can dissect a defense from a clean pocket. He can make pre-snap reads that carve up coverage before the ball even comes off the center's hands. That's a quarterback who is built for exactly the kind of offensive system. Todd Monkin runs not a scheme that asks him to improvise his way out of chaos, but one that rewards processing, precision, and finding the right target in the right window at precisely the right moment. Concepcion is that receiver. Denzel Boston is that receiver. And for the first time in Shedeur Sanders' professional life, the right receivers are actually going to be in the right windows. The AFC North just watched all of this happen. Pittsburgh, Baltimore, And Cincinnati all just sat back and watched the Cleveland Browns go out and put together 4 top 60 picks, an offensive line anchor, 2 first-round receiving weapons, a hard-hitting safety, and a depth structure that didn't exist a year ago. And then they watched the rookie minicamp film of Concepcion, running routes at full tilt like the pace of practice is an insult to his abilities. Meanwhile, the Cincinnati Bengals were in helmets, running walkthroughs on day 1 of their rookie camp. The Steelers' footage showed footwork drills. The Cleveland Browns, 11 on 11. Live coaching between reps, installing the offense at full speed on May 9th. That is not a small thing. That is culture taking shape in real time. That is what happens when you bring in a head coach who has already won at the highest level, and he sets the expectation from literally week 1, and the quarterback at the center of all of it. The same young man who warmed the bench for 9 games last year stepped in when his number was finally called, threw for 364 yards and 4 touchdowns in Week 14, and kept his composure through what ESPN called one of the most shocking draft slides in recent NFL memory. He's walking into training camp with a new line in front of him, 2 new first-round weapons beside him, a coach who actually believes in his ability, and a fire burning inside him that no outside voice is capable of putting out. Dre. Fiverr has been saying it for months, and I'll keep right on saying it. Shedeur Sanders is going to be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns in 2026. And when he is, when Concepcion runs that first crossing route in September and the ball arrives before the linebacker even knows what hit him, every anonymous source, every whisper campaign, every voice that spent 12 months saying this kid didn't belong, they're going to have to sit with what they chose to say.